Welcome back to Crime Time, Inc. Today, we're going down under to Australia. Now, when you think Australia, you don't typically think school kidnappings.
Right.
But
yeah.
in the 1970s, Australia had not one,
Oh, wow.
but two cases that shook the nation.
These events not only exposed vulnerabilities specific to rural life,
Right?
but also revealed a lot about human nature under duress.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We're going to start with the first case
Okay.
that happened back in 1972 in Faraday.
Yeah, okay.
Now, Faraday was a town so small that its only schoolhouse
Okay.
had just 10 students.
Wow.
But on this particular day,
Yeah.
only 6 were present, all girls
Okay.
between the ages of 5 and 10, with their 20-year-old teacher, Mary Gibbs.
It was a typical Friday afternoon,
Right.
almost the end of the school day.
Right.
Mary and her students were playing musical chairs when two men,
Okay.
Edwin Eastwood and Robert Bolin,
What?
burst in.
Oh, my gosh.
Both were unemployed plasterers armed with a sawed-off shotgun
Wow.
and a plan.
They herded everyone into a red delivery van, leaving behind a ransom note for a staggering $1 million.
$1 million.
The note also threatened the annihilation of every hostage if any attempts was made to trace them or apprehend them.
That's intense.
News of the kidnapping spread rapidly, causing nationwide panic.
Of course.
The premier of Victoria at the time, Dick Hamer, assured the public the government was prepared to pay the ransom.
So the education minister, Lindsay Thompson, became directly involved, receiving a call from the kidnappers and agreeing to deliver the money.
But of course, the police were also working behind the scenes. They weren't taking any chances. So they devised a plan to protect the minister. Assistant Commissioner Bill Crowley disguised himself as Thompson's chauffeur, hiding a Derringer pistol in his trousers, while Assistant Commissioner Mick Miller hid under a blanket.
Oh, my goodness.
In the back seat, armed with a high-powered rifle.
Wow.
If anything went wrong, Thompson was to duck, giving Miller a clear shot.
It sounds like something out of a spy thriller.
It does, right?
Yeah.
But the kidnappers never showed up at the designated drop-off point.
Oh.
What happened?
Well, back in the bushland near Lancefield, Mary Gibbs was busy taking matters into her own hands.
Okay.
While the kidnappers were away, she had been looking for any possible escape route.
I can only imagine the desperation.
Right.
What did she do?
Left alone in the van with the children, she first tried to have them charge the doors, hoping to break them open. But the doors were bolted from the outside.
Oh, no.
It was then that she noticed her platform shoes.
Yeah.
Remember, those were all the rage in the 70s.
Yes.
She decided to use them to try and kick out one of the van's panels.
Platform shoes as tools of escape.
Yeah.
That's certainly not something you hear every day.
Right.
Did it work?
It did.
Wow.
She was a petite woman.
Okay.
But with the help of the two oldest girls, and after what must have felt like an eternity of kicking a panel, finally gave way.
Oh, my gosh.
They managed to crawl out.
Wow.
And after walking for several kilometers through the bush, stumbled upon a group of rabbit hunters who took them to safety.
Talk about a daring escape.
Yeah.
What happened to the kidnappers?
Eastwood and Bolin panicked. When they realized their hostages were gone, they abandoned their plan and dumped their weapons in a creek.
After a 3-day manhunt, the police finally tracked them down and arrested them.
So what became of Mary Gibbs?
Right.
She must have been hailed as a hero.
She absolutely was. Yeah. And she saved all those kids.
Right.
So what happened to her?
Gibbs received the George Medal for her bravery.
Wow.
And quick thinking. And she and the girls became overnight celebrities.
Oh, wow.
But understandably, the experience left its mark on them.
Of course.
Yeah.
Especially those young girls.
The Faraday School was permanently closed.
Wow.
The children transferred to other schools, and they rarely spoke about the kidnapping in later years.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So what about Mary?
Gibbs took a month off to recover.
Okay.
And eventually returned to teaching.
Okay.
But at a different school in Bendigo.
Oh, right.
She wanted a fresh start. Somewhere without the painful memories.
I bet.
Yeah.
You would think that would be the end of the story.
Right.
But it takes a shocking turn. Just 4 years later, the man behind the Faraday kidnapping, Edwin Eastwood, struck again.
He did.
Another school kidnapping.
That's unbelievable.
Tell me more about what happened.
This time, his target was Warren State School,
Okay.
located in the Gippsland region of Victoria, like Faraday. It was a small rural school with just one teacher and a handful of students.
So what happened?
On Valentine's Day, 1977, Eastwood walked into the Warren schoolyard wearing a balaclava and carrying a revolver.
Oh, my gosh.
The school was in recess.
Okay.
The children were playing outside.
Right.
And he ordered everyone back inside.
Okay.
He then confronted the teacher, 20-year-old Rob Hunter, who had only been teaching for 9 days.
9 days. Can you imagine?
That's insane.
What did he do?
Eastwood was clearly agitated and nervous.
Yeah.
He chained up Hunter and the 9 students before driving them off in a stolen Dodge truck.
So he chained them up and then took off with them.
He left a note on the school door saying the class was on a nature study trip and would be back in an hour.
It sounds like he was trying to make it seem less suspicious.
Right.
But did he have another ransom plan?
Oh, he did.
Okay.
But this time, his plan was much bolder and more chaotic.
Oh, wow.
He sent a ransom note to a Melbourne newspaper demanding $7 million.
$7 million?
An assortment of guns.
Wow.
The release of 17 prisoners from Pentridge Prison.
Goodness.
And 100 kilograms each of cocaine and heroin.
What? That escalated quickly.
It sounds like his ambition or perhaps his desperation had grown considerably since the Faraday kidnapping.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What happened next?
As he drove around with his hostages, Eastwood became increasingly erratic. At one point, he crashed the truck into a logging truck. When the truckers went to check on him, Eastwood took them hostage, too.
He took the truck drivers hostage.
Yeah.
So his hostage count was growing.
It was.
What did he do with all these people?
He ended up kidnapping 2 more truck drivers and a couple of road trippers who happened to cross his path.
He's just picking people up as he goes along.
Pretty much. Cramming all 16 hostages.
16?
9 students, 1 teacher, and 6 adults.
Into a small camper van? Oh, my God.
That's a recipe for disaster.
It is.
Yeah.
What did the police do?
They were in hot pursuit.
Okay.
And a dramatic chase ensued.
Eastwood fired shots at the pursuing police cars.
He did.
While trying to evade capture.
Trying to get away.
Did anyone get hurt?
The police fired back, aiming at the van's tires.
Okay.
1 bullet ricocheted through the cabin, but miraculously injured no one.
That's incredible.
It is.
So how did it all end?
Eastwood was eventually shot in the leg and apprehended by the police.
So they got him.
They did.
It was a chaotic and terrifying end to his second kidnapping spree.
What happened to Eastwood after he was captured? And what about the hostages? Particularly Rob Hunter.
Yeah.
We'll delve into those details and the aftermath of these events after a quick break. We'll be right back.
All right.
Eastwood faced a staggering 25 charges.
Wow.
Including 16 counts of kidnapping,
Yes.
3 counts of theft of a motor vehicle, and a host of other offenses.
So he was in a lot of trouble.
Oh, yeah.
What happened?
He pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 21 years in prison, with a minimum of 18 years to be served concurrently with the remainder of his sentence from the Faraday kidnapping.
So in total, he spent a quarter of a century behind bars for his crimes.
Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
What about Rob Hunter?
Oh, yeah.
The teacher from Warren. How did he cope after such a harrowing experience?
Hunter emerged physically unharmed, but understandably traumatized.
Of course.
Yeah.
I can only imagine.
He later wrote a book about the experience titled Day 9 at Warren.
Wow.
A gripping first-hand account of those 9 days as Eastwood's hostage.
It must have taken incredible courage to revisit such a traumatic event in such detail.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And what's remarkable is that Hunter continued teaching.
He continued teaching?
Yeah.
Wow.
He only recently retired after a long and successful career.
So he didn't let this experience stop him?
No.
It's pretty amazing.
It makes you think about how people react to such extreme stress.
Yeah.
Some might be broken by it,
Right.
while others, like Hunter, seem to find a way to turn it into a source of strength.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not just Hunter.
Right.
Mary Gibbs also went back to teaching.
She did.
Both their actions highlight a kind of resilience that's both fascinating and inspiring.
It certainly is.
These cases, though, terrifying, also shed light on the dedication of these teachers.
Absolutely.
Their commitment to their students, even in the face of danger.
Oh, yeah.
It also raises questions about the safety and security of rural schools, especially those in isolated areas.
Right.
I mean, you would think that, a school would be a safe place.
You would.
But obviously in these two cases, that wasn't true.
Unfortunately not.
And, these events weren't just about the individual kidnappings.
Right.
They became national talking points.
Yeah.
Forcing a reassessment of how schools, especially those in remote locations, were managed and protected.
Exactly.
And, especially back in the 70s, I don't think people were thinking about, someone coming in with a gun and taking children hostage.
The Faraday kidnapping in particular made people question the wisdom of having single-teacher schools.
Oh, wow.
In such isolated places.
Right.
Back then, it was a common practice, reflecting a different time with a different level of perceived risk and a different level of trust, perhaps.
Yeah.
But after Faraday, things changed.
They did.
Many single-teacher schools were closed. Students were either transported to larger schools in nearby towns, or families were encouraged to relocate to more populated areas.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, that would have been such a huge disruption.
It was.
For those families and for those small communities.
It significantly altered the landscape of rural education.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And likely the social fabric of many small communities as well. Can you imagine the impact this had on towns like Faraday?
Yeah.
The sense of loss.
Yeah.
The disruption to their way of life.
It's hard to overstate the impact.
Yeah.
It must have been profound.
It's just crazy to think how these events can have such a ripple effect, not just on the individuals involved, but on the whole community.
These kidnappings were stark reminders of the vulnerabilities of rural life.
Right.
The isolation, the lack of resources, the distance from law enforcement.
Right.
All these factors combined to create a sense of unease.
Of course.
And heightened awareness of potential danger.
But amidst this, it's important to remember the resilience of these communities.
Right.
In the face of adversity, they came together to support one another.
Right.
To rebuild and move forward.
Absolutely.
These events tested their strength.
Yeah.
Their spirit.
Right.
But they didn't break them.
They didn't.
And certainly didn't diminish their commitment to education.
Nope.
They found new ways to ensure their children had access to learning, adapting, and persevering.
Absolutely.
Both cases provide a glimpse into a bygone era in Australia.
Right.
A time when life in rural areas could be both idyllic and fraught with peril.
Absolutely.
And although dark chapters in the nation's history, they sparked important conversations about safety, security, and the importance of community.
That's a very good point.
They forced a confrontation with the vulnerabilities of rural life and prompted the search for new ways to protect the most precious resource, children.
Right. They also exposed weaknesses within the system itself.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eastwood's escapes from Geelong prison?
Oh, right.
Not once, but twice.
Wow.
Raised serious questions about prison security protocols.
So not only were the schools vulnerable, but so were the prisons.
Right.
I mean, how does someone escape from prison?
Well, clearly it happened twice, so they definitely needed to look at their security measures.
Yeah.
Those escapes were major embarrassments for the authorities.
Of course.
And led to a significant overhaul of security measures.
Okay.
There were also questions raised about the adequacy of police resources in rural areas, the vast distances, limited manpower, lack of sophisticated technology.
Right.
All these factors hampered the police response in both cases.
So these events were wake-up calls on multiple levels, exposing systemic vulnerabilities and forcing authorities to reevaluate their priorities and strategies.
Precisely.
It's a reminder that even in a country like Australia, with its relatively low crime rate, complacency when it comes to safety and security is never an option.
Absolutely.
These cases highlight the importance of being prepared, having plans in place to deal with emergencies.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, the crucial role of strong, supportive communities.
Absolutely.
Communities where people are vigilant, look out for each other, and are willing to step up and help in times of crisis.
While these events were undeniably tragic, they also showcased the best of humanity.
Oh, absolutely.
The bravery of the teachers, the resilience of the children, the dedication of law enforcement, the support of communities. These are all testaments to the enduring strength of the human spirit.
And these are stories that deserve to be told, not only to remember the victims and their families, but also to learn from the past and work to prevent such events from happening again.
They are stories that will stay with us long after we finish discussing them.
Absolutely.
They challenge us to think differently about safety, security, and the importance of community.
Yeah.
They inspire us to be more vigilant, more prepared, and more compassionate.
These cases also sparked considerable debate about the role of the media.
Oh, yeah.
The Faraday and Warren kidnappings received a lot of attention, dominating the news cycle for days, even weeks.
And the media's coverage played a significant role in shaping public perception of these events.
I bet.
In some cases, their reporting, while well-intentioned, might have inadvertently contributed to the chaos and fear.
For example, Eastwood's demands in the Warren case, particularly the inclusion of drugs, and the release of prisoners, seemed designed to generate sensational headlines.
Absolutely.
And that kind of attention might have fueled his increasingly erratic behavior.
It's a reminder that the media has a huge responsibility. The need to report accurately and responsibly while avoiding sensationalism and being mindful of the potential impact their coverage can have on the victims, their families, and the wider community.
It's a tough balance.
It's a delicate balance.
Yeah.
And it's one the media grappled with in the aftermath of these events.
It's a conversation that continues today, especially with the rise of social media and the 24/7 news cycle.
These events also raised important questions about crime and punishment.
Yeah.
Eastwood spent a considerable portion of his life behind bars. But did his punishment truly fit his actions?
That's a good question.
It's a question society continues to debate. Some believe any crime as heinous as kidnapping deserves the harshest possible punishment.
I can understand that.
While others argue that rehabilitation should be a primary goal of the justice system. That even those who commit terrible acts should be given the opportunity to redeem themselves.
So there's two sides to the argument. It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Absolutely.
But one we must continue to grapple with as we strive to create a just and equitable society.
You're absolutely right.
And while these Australian school kidnappings were undoubtedly dark chapters, they also offer valuable lessons about resilience, community, and above all, the importance of hope.
They remind us that even in the face of unimaginable adversity, the human spirit can endure.
Absolutely.
And that even in the darkest of times, there's always light to be found.
In the event that Simon gets kidnapped over in Australia, we are well prepared.
Oh, yeah.
We have £3.50 in the kitty to cover the ransom.
Okay.
But we are not sure if that money could be better spent elsewhere.
Tune in tomorrow for another great true crime episode.